Have you ever wondered what are the best home improvements to make for resale? When does it make sense to spend the money to improve the house, to increase the sale price? And when is it really not a good idea to do certain improvements to a house because they will only cost you money and not get a return on that investment? Today, I'm going to break this down for you, answer those questions, and give you some perspective on a strategy that works almost every single time. So stay tuned. Hello again, and welcome back to my channel, where I discuss all things related to living in Napa Valley or living in Sonoma Valley. I'm Lee W. Miller, and I'm glad you joined us today. I really enjoy helping clients acquire and dispose of their most valuable asset, real estate, particularly when they are moving from or to Napa Valley or Sonoma Valley. The question for today is, when does it make sense to update a home, and when does it make sense to just sell it as is? Those are two questions that I'll dive into. But before we jump into the details and the options that you might have for that, let's talk about appraisals. Appraisals are part of every transaction that requires a loan. Not so much with cash, although it does have that option. As a cash buyer, you can request an appraisal to make sure that you're not overpaying. But the primary reason for an appraisal is to make sure that the lender is not loaning you more money than the property is actually worth. Otherwise, that does not bode well for them. The way appraisals work is an appraiser is going to take a look at all the properties that meet the same specifications of the subject property. Square foot, numbers of bedrooms and bathrooms, the area that it's in town, and they're going to look at all that history of typically the last 3 to 6 months. Sometimes if sales volume is low in an area, they might have to go back an entire year. But they're going to see what those properties sold for. Then they're going to compare the condition of the properties that sold and the subject property. Then they're going to make adjustments higher or lower based on improvements and added features that might be on one property or the other. Some of those might include how new is the roof? Are the windows the original windows, or have they been upgraded to thermal windows or dual pane? Has the bathroom or the kitchen been remodeled? What's the landscaping look like? Those are all factors that come into play. Landscaping, it's really important nowadays, especially in California, that you have a drought-resistant or an eco-friendly landscape, not a huge lawn that requires lots and lots of water. Believe it or not, a property with a drought-resistant landscape will command a higher price. That's kind of cool. There's also going to be some health and safety issues that an appraiser is going to identify. Obviously, they're going to want to make sure that smoke and CO2 detectors are installed in every home. They're going to want to make sure that the heater works. Those are the things that are required to make a home habitable. Does it have a stove? I have taken listings before that they just flat don't have a stove and they have no heater. Well, a lender is not going to want to lend on those. So typically the sellers know that. In this particular one, they didn't. And they didn't want to spend even the $6,000 or $7,000 to put in a new heater and a stove. So that limited any buyer for that property to be that of a cash buyer. Otherwise, the lender is not going to lend on it because it's not healthy and safe for the new owners of the property. It is very common for a realtor to do their own search for comparable properties and discuss those properties and the pros and cons and the differences with the seller to make sure that the seller understands how the realtor is coming to their recommended listing price. If you are going to do some renovation and some remodel to help gain a higher price for your property, it's a good idea to just plan on a 20 to 25% higher budget than all of your research and or quotes from contractors might be telling you. There's something in the construction industry referred to as change orders. And very often those are a result of property owners changing their minds and saying, oh, I should have thought of this sooner. I really want, I don't know, built-in shelves over here or something. And I think that that will add value. Also, there's the changing of the mind of the property owner. And then there's the change order that might come from once the contractor delves into the work, they discover, oh, I took that wall out for you, and per your request as the original contract, and discovered that there was a massive termite inspection and we need to replace the header that's now going to support the ceiling. That was unforeseen. That's a change order. Things like that happen, and you just need to be prepared to encounter those. This might come as a surprise to you, but the number one best ROI for any improvement that you can make on your home is the garage door. I was a little bit surprised when I learned that, but it kind of makes sense when you consider the term curb appeal. That's the first thing that they're going to see when they drive up to your home. And if there's an old wooden door with springs, that's probably not going to be as attractive to them as an electric roll-up panel door. Light switches. Light switches? Why would I talk about light switches and this subject? Well, if you're looking at a 50-year-old or 100-year-old house, light switches can wear out. Sometimes they're loose, sometimes they cause lights to flicker, things of that nature. It might just be a nuisance, but it also might be a health and safety issue, and that's pretty, I can't think of anything less expensive to switch out than light switches and wall sockets. But you want to be sure if there's any issues with yours that you either replace them or at the very least you disclose that, or that could come back to bite you. Heaven forbid there's a fire in the house that we find out later was caused by a faulty light switch. Let's talk about landscaping. In addition to the eco-friendly drought resistance that I covered previously, in California especially, with wildfires and other natural disasters, it's always wise to keep a good clearing of space and not have shrubbery and trees too close to your actual home. Roof replacement. Believe it or not, this is a really good ROI. Spending the money on a new roof gives the buyer peace of mind that they otherwise just wouldn't have if the roof is rather old. Keep in mind that sometimes roofers can just re-roof right over one layer or two layers and go up to 3 layers thick. Adds to the insulation and reduces the cost. Check the building codes in your area to make sure that you're doing it the proper way. Hopefully this information gives you a good start on determining what are the best home improvements that you can make to increase your home value. Now, let's talk about when you should sell your house as is. Of course, there are a number of factors. Maybe you just got a job transfer and you need to sell quickly because you're supposed to report for work in the new location. Maybe you've made an offer on another property and you don't want a contingency of your existing home on that offer, because in this or any other competitive market, that offer is going to be rejected, and an offer without any contingencies is going to be the seller's preference. Maybe there's dire circumstances. Maybe I don't know, job loss, divorce, you've been undergoing financial pressure for a long time, and now you're looking at foreclosure. Obviously, you should sell the house as is in those situations. Maybe you're just not wired. You're not the kind of person that wants to live in a house for 2, 3, 4 months while it is being remodeled. I, I fall into that category. I didn't know it until I bought my current property as a fixer, moved in, and then did all the work. But I digress. So there's a number of reasons why it just may not make sense for you. But if you do have the constitution for it and you want that extra income from making the improvements, let's talk about how to pay for any home renovation. And this is not financial advice, but just kind of common sense. Obviously, you could burn through your savings, and maybe if you're pulled money out of a CD or a savings account that's only earning 1.5%, and you've done the calculations, and it totally makes sense for you to pull out $50,000 or $100,000, put that into the house, and at the end of the transaction, you end up netting an incremental $25,000. That's a good return. If again, maybe you're okay with living in a house during remodel, but you're not okay with risking $100,000, hoping to make a $25,000 return. So you really need to do your homework and make sure that that makes sense for you. Maybe you want to get a home equity line of credit or a home improvement loan, things of that nature. There's no cost to get a home equity line of credit. Typically they'll do that, the lenders will do that at no cost. Now once you draw on that money, now you're going to be paying interest on the payments, but if you're looking at a 4 to 6 month remodel, kind of makes sense. That's pretty inexpensive. Liquidating stock is even more aggressive than pulling it out of savings or a CD, but that is certainly an option for you. Now, one thing that not a whole lot of realtors have in their back pocket is, although they should, is a list of contractors and tradespeople that will do all these projects that you end up deciding to do. You should certainly work with a realtor that's going to be able to help you with those things. I have something that's even a little bit more unique than that, because I've got a team that will do all of the work and help you decide which are going to give you the best return on investment. They're up to date with all of the current trends, and whether it's quartz or granite and backsplash tile patterns, shower enclosures, all these different things that are super trendy. They will do everything that you and they decide is the best, and they won't charge you a plumb nickel until you sell. Once you sell, right out of escrow, they get compensated for the work that they've done, and this is a tremendous benefit. As a matter of fact, my wife and I recently purchased a fixer, and I am using this team, and they're doing everything. See these hands? There's no calluses. I don't swing a hammer. I don't do demo work. I leave it all to them, and it is the most low stress remodel that one could possibly encounter. Granted, there have been change orders of unforeseen, but that's kind of typical to that process. As a matter of fact, if you are curious as to what that's like, I've got a series of fixer-upper flip videos that I've been doing from as soon as we closed escrow, what the condition of the house was, and taking us all the way through. You might enjoy watching that. You can see that collection of videos just right here, up in the corner, and click on that, and it'll take you to those fixer flip videos that my wife and I have been doing. Thanks for watching my video today. I hope that you were able to gather some useful, helpful information. Stay tuned and keep listening and make comments, because they always say there is no such thing as a free lunch. Well, I'm proving that wrong, because each month I'm going to choose one comment and reach out to that person, and I'm going to buy them lunch. So it may as well be you. Why not? Talk to you later. I was winging it blindly. There will be lots of edits. Now that I got my water, I don't know where my head was. No, that's not what we're going to take a look at. You can see that. I can't even say that right. Roof replacement.